Okay, play and explain attempt. Here we go, starting off, we got table 3, rec opens to 3.5. They're short, so I don't know if I want to go a full 3x in terms of sizing. I think let's go a little closer down to 9. We're going to squeeze pocket 9s here on the big blind to 4. And this is going to be a little too loose to open. I'll open this from the cutoff. I'm just going to choose ace-10 off plus and hijack. Bottom left, probably calling a squeeze. I don't know, it'd be close. I can 3-bet, ace-jack suited on table 2. Squeeze gets through down here. Tables are pretty good since it's Friday. Lots of green coding for lots of shorties. Short stacks, recs. Table 3. Board you can get away with betting pretty large. I think anything you do is fine. Versus the rec short stack, just going to go for a smaller size. No rush to build pot. This is a board I'll be checking quite a lot on table 2 if it's just even single raise pot like hijack first button. So when they cold call, they'll have a lot of pairs, obviously Broadway. They can still have like all their ace queen. So it's a board that's not the best for me. We have double backdoors and stuff, so I'm just gonna check, and we'll just be calling off this table. Not a terrible hand candidate to flat, especially when we're a little deeper here on table 4. And just adding to that because they're opening kind of similar size. But I think this one we're just going to go ahead and put in 3-bet. Interesting spot on table 2. If we want to raise how we want to play it, we pick up our gut shot plus the backdoor flush, so just going to be calling versus a pretty small bet, giving us nice odds to just play continue through a passive line. When we brick out, that's alright. I think king 5 or king 10 off here is going to be strong enough to isolate, assuming that fish are going to be kind of insensitive to positions and that the low jack limp isn't going to be that powerful. So 4x or 5x is probably fine. Let's go 4x. And do we want to 3-bet here versus low jack? Usually not really calling much in cutoff versus low jack. I don't hate it, especially with this hand class. Don't have enough hands to sign villain really anything. If any, yeah, it's just too soon. So let's be 3-betting this candidate. And ace jack suited. Potentially have showdown versus worse ace high spades or something. Don't think we have much showdown though versus 2 players, but not the best candidate, I don't think, to bluff just because we're blocking a lot of Broadway hearts and stuff. Could be arguments for blocking top pair, which makes it a candidate, but just gonna give up that one. In this ISO here, I'm just gonna be continuing a lot on table 1 versus the rec player. Just trying to barrel a lot of hands, not thinking too much about it. Just putting aggressive on their limp calling range, trying to attack. And it's going to be interesting to see what we have. Some misbluff and then good call by jacks. I'm just going to continue here with another barrel. Just trying to put pressure on the limp calling range, on the side boards especially. I mean, fish will open some probably weak offsuit ace-x, but I don't expect it to be that much in general. Mark some shorties. And still too early in the session to be putting any more tags without seeing a lot of showdowns. If we want to tag volatile or knit regs, etc. So just marking short stacks with green. And any crazy showdowns. This hand is a little interesting. I didn't see the action pre, but it looks like the ace-king suited called off on jack 2-2 with no backdoor flush draw. I'm not sure how often we want to 3-bet this candidate here. Might be pure. I actually just don't know it. We're going to go for it here. 10-2 suited. Be playing. Check folding this board. This might not even be a thing on table 4. That might just be a fold pre. Not too sure, but it's going to be fold now. And yeah, I kind of totally missed the stack size of the big blind here. So it's always dangerous when raising to these sizes and giving them an easy shove. But I think we're going to be a little too weak to call. They can just be shoving like weird, like offsuit ace X that's ahead of us, and this is a hand class that wants to play deep pots, so I have to give this up. Just kind of a mental slip there. Did not notice that the big blind was short, so got to take a little bit more time and pay attention to those things. Be marking this one. And we'll just play a position with an offsuit ace, no problem on that. Just call here on table 3, and we'll be 3-betting ace-10 off. Also, potential candidate for flatting. I'm assuming we kind of want to have a preference for flatting ace-10 suited. Not too sure. Versus small size on the turn club. Gonna appeal here. I think it is a high frequency bet spot for them, and with not a huge sizing. It depends on their strategy though. If they're betting range, they might want to polarize on the turn if it's for small blind versus big blind spots in general, but don't see a reason to fold, don't see a reason to raise there versus that size. We'd be going for pretty thin value here. We'd be targeting, I mean there's tons of ace X, but I think it's going to be too thin for us to reopen action here on the river on table 4. So we're just going to check back. Slap a green on them, fold this, and we'll be ISOing 2-4 bigs. Not opposed to going up to 5 as well, even if they're short or shorter than this, but usually just going for 4 here. Probably just going to be a very high frequency bet on this board for us. In an ISO pot, and this hand class really wants to bet, so in terms of sizing, we're going half here. Other options as well, check raise performs pretty well, especially with the diamond there. 6-7 off, we'll just play blind versus blind, we'll open ace-6 suited here, be folding this hand, and it's a board that's potential for us to be having a high checking range. Not too much 5x. I don't think that's going to be limp calling. And if it's like ace 5 suited or something, it's 2 combos now. But still, I think we're gonna just want to build more of a check range. And yeah, we'll be folding here. Not sure if there's much merit in raising all in here versus a polarized sizing. There is tons of value that we can be dominating, so I don't hate the idea of just jamming here. But I also don't mind the idea of just playing just through call and calling rivers. So yeah, blocking some of the diamonds, rather be unblocking that. So this is just going to tilt me to play the check call there. Not too sure how we'll play risk the jam there. There you go. Got the old river there. See if the queen top right can survive a little better. Yeah, I don't know if they don't have much 5x at all in their limp range, then I don't know. Then I think my thought process is I just want to keep their blasts in a little more and just check call there. It could just be nice to get it in there versus their Jack X as well. So kind of having some conflicting thoughts over that. 10-9 suited. Not sure this is gonna fit in a 3-bet versus a low Jack open. It might be one of our favorite candidates. But I think it's going to be a pretty low frequency. We don't have any reads on villains so far. We do roll really low, so we roll aggressive action, but not enough sample size to make any reads. I'm just going to play through flat here. Expect a really wide range bet from them. Probably want a little more equity for check raise. We'll be check raising a lot of pairs on this board as well, just as there's not many draws, so we're going to have to throw in some pairs and trash, as well as double backdoors and better hands than that. We don't have much going on, so if we are going to proceed with this hand in any capacity, I imagine it's be a low frequency check raise, otherwise we're going to fold, and we're just going to fold. You hear some snoring, that's the sleeping pug, who is having some crazy dreams right now. I'm just quickly going to mark the queen's hand and see if I can think about shoving versus check calling. I'm not going to have much of a shoving range versus polarized size like that, but I don't know if thinking about those types of things matters versus recreational players that are just playing the hand and it's most incentivized action. And versus the wreck, I still think I'm just going to go and bang and dot from low jack, and this is going to be too thin. 2-3-bet. Especially not being a full 100 bigs deep, where the suited ace-x performs better. This can be pretty loose on the button. Definitely more incentivized if I had 2 wrecks in the blinds. Looks like we have 1 small blind. So I'm not sure how loose I'm going to open up, but I'm going to full versus cutoff open. Versus the small sizing, I honestly have no idea how this hand class wants to perform. Getting great price out of position, and this is a hand that performs well deep. I just think we're getting good enough price that it's going to be hard to have much of any folding range here, so I'm going to just reluctantly come along for this one. Plan is to check fold, open the queen jack suited, versus low jack limp, and I'm going to toss that one. I'm playing a high checking strategy versus button calls, so probably on a lot of boards would be doing that, and then the most advantageous boards, if I'm betting, it's just going to be a small size. I think this hand can mix in 3-bet versus button and versus small blind open. This is going to be, yeah, I guess we can continue this most of the time. Top right, 2. And so, yeah, these paired boards is one of the boards where we're going to be able to bet a lot on. So I'm thinking we're just going to go, say, 20-ish P size, so 25P. We get a great flop here. We're just going to be betting a lot on this board in general. They should be pretty capped, and for that reason, I'm just going to choose kind of the range bet 33P sizing. And table 2, not a terrible candidate to check raise on, as we want to make sure we're throwing in some pairs. This dry-ish board, so I think this at some capacity it will do that, and we're just going to go for it this time. Top left, not too sure how the Jack X interacts with us. I think it's decent for both players, so I don't think we're going to be seeing huge bets here, so I'm just going to go with the 66 sizing. And top right, we'll be going for, I don't know what we'll be doing. Bottom left, we're going to be barreling. And I think we're going to slow down on table 2. It's just hard to think of what we're getting that's worse to call. We might have full equity against better pocket pairs, which is nice, and we get a lucky river there. And do we want to continue the bluff? On table 3, does our hand have nice removal properties? We block Jack 10, which is good. We block 10-9, which is nice. So I think it is a board that we want to bet on, and just trying to think if we're going to try to represent kings, queens, Jack 10, potentially. So if we're representing those hands, we're just going to go for a shove, and in here we're going to bet large, get hopefully called by a queen on table 2. Table 3 is going to be another hand I'm going to mark, so I'm not exactly sure how we want to play that. I assume it's a nice hand to shove though, just blocking 10-9 suited and Jack 10, and having the kings and queens advantage that we do. Sitting the wrong seat over here. Pocket Fate's just going to be an ISO, so we have 2 limps, so we're just going, they're kind of short though. We'll make it 6x, and then I don't know how we're going to play versus jam actually. Especially versus this one where it's going to be 25 bigs more to call. I don't know. What's going on here? I thought I've had my table settings set up. Oh, maybe it's just the Jurigen overlays. Maybe I have to move my HUD every time. Yeah, it looks like the Jurigen overlays are working with like the call stuff, but I assumed it was gonna keep my HUD as well, but not a big deal. It has to be a 3-bet. We got 10s here. What's going on? They just flip. So we're gonna ISO to 5 from the big line. This will be an open to cutoff, table 3, and not a terrible 3-bet candidate, table 2 if we're deeper. Versus a Rec, so probably have a decent amount of fold equity. And like ability to play post flop, etc. But not being deep enough is gonna lose some of the easy, I think, of 3-betting this combo. Another great flop down here. What was this action? This was we opened and then they called, so hijack was big one. Yeah, pair flush draw board that we're gonna be betting a decent amount on. Probably not all the time, so I think we can throw this in one of the hands that's going to bet. And we'll be opening this. And queen 10 off from the hijack will be some type of frequency open, especially with weak player in the cutoff and small blind. And the queen 4 suited is going to be a fold. Yeah, I don't know what to do here. I think calling might be okay. Whatever, let's do it. And same thing with table 3, just not loving it, but why not? And that's why we call that. We knew that was coming. So that's great. Playing on these like limp boards when I'm in the big blind is like probably check a lot, play pretty straightforward, and then just stab every turn. So I think that's the plan. And then I'm not even sure if this is like the one turn I wouldn't want to stab because I'm thinking now I picked up enough showdown. But I think we could probably get some thin value. I just expect red limp to like bet everything that actually connects when they hit. And then after a call, I think the thin value is probably over. Multi-way pots, I'm never really using large sizing. Usually using 25p. So I think on this board, when we're doing so well, I'm gonna just size up a tiny bit to 33p. I could see arguments just exploitatively going larger and stuff versus 2 Recs in the pot. But I'm just gonna start with it, small bet. And probably check call if they do bet on table 3. Unfortunately, a 33p is too powerful. Scares opponents off. Not loving the ace-5 off open here, just now I'm cognizant that the big blind is short. But I have enough fold equity, and we can play this hand pretty easily as a open fold. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I can have the HUD automatically open in the same spot every time on Jirogen. I haven't figured that out yet. Would be small nice to have. And plan is just play 5 more minutes and call this session. This is just too weak to 3-bet the low jack. Opening ace-6 suited on the button. With rec and button and small blind, I'm just gonna be loosey-goosey. Table 3, and just YOLO open. Versus the donk, it's always tempting to raise, since it's usually pretty mergy value. But this hand just doesn't have enough going on for it, I don't think. I think 10 deuce is going to be too weak to open the small blind, even though I'm trying to open very wide. Under the pool assumption that I'm getting overfolds and under 3-bet, but 10 deuce suited is not going to be good enough, despite that. Yeah, when I'm checking a lot versus like out of position open button call, I am checking a lot, assuming they have like a strong range if it's versus a reg and stuff. Versus a rec when they call a hijack, I'm not too worried about it. This range is quite good for them, and so I'm probably going to check here, even though I'm not going to assign them that strong of a cold calling range. And king 6 suited will be an open cutoff. Now versus this type of sizing, raising doesn't make too much sense, but we could potentially think about jamming some turn, especially when we pick up a gut shot. Multi-way pot, just going to be using usually small size, so we're just going to go for 25p here. Versus bigger bet, I was considering jamming. Jamming seems kind of ambitious here, given the sizes left, and we're getting a good price given the amount of equity we have. Assuming the king and queen are live, we have quite a few outs. 18 if I'm counting right. So I'm gonna play passively. take the equity I have. With the gutter, we'll be barreling, and I just like this combo to barrel, as opposed to, I mean, King Jack and stuff is blocking just too many flushes it draws that I can cooler. So I'm trying to preference that in my check back range somewhat, and with the gut shot, this is pretty nice, so I'm just going to be barreling this one. Mixing bets here versus the wreck, I'm probably going to get 2 streets now as opposed to check bet that, but we'll be checking this type of combo a lot on these boards, but opting for a bet here. And I don't think shoving is too great on this run out, blocking like Queen Jack and Miss Diamonds and stuff like that, so just folding. An ace is probably a card we slow down a decent amount on, especially the club completing one. It blocks a lot of our flushes. So probably slowing down in general, maybe using some sort of half pot size. I don't think we're going to bet very large on this type of turn. They have a lot of ace-x, they have a lot of clubs. I'm just going to go for kind of deceitful check here. And this will probably be our last hand, so I'm going to play 7-8 off's going to be too weak versus early position 4x. So we'll just finish these hands, and that'll be it. I'm just going to call here. Yep, that makes sense. What do we got going on table 1? Just ISO and 3-bet. So we will just be 4-betting. It's kind of a weird stack size we got going on here. I'm not sure if we want to go with the normal 2.5 size. But it'll go smaller since they're so short, and we'll just call shove. They're not going to be as netted as this normal like hijack cutoff 3-bet, just because I'm ISOing, so I'm finding them kind of a looser range if they're going to just 3-bet my ISO. But not entirely sure on that. Then we take that one down, and that is going to conclude this sesh. Later.